Good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the launch of the Economic and Social Survey of the United Nations Economic and Social Council. We are located in Bangkok, and the sub-regional office that is here is located in Korea. And it gives me great pleasure to have Professor Jeffrey Sachs and Dr. Jong-Wha Lee join us in the launch of this report. We have a number of flagship publications, but this is the oldest of them all. And the launch of this always is done around the world, and this year we're particularly pleased that in addition to about 27 locations in Asia Pacific, it is also released in Addis Ababa, Santiago, Geneva, New York, Beirut, and Rome. And I will say a word about our two commentators on the report. Just so you know, you have copies of the survey as well as the PowerPoint that you're going to see, both as a hard copy and as a memory stick, and so please take a look at that. Let me first of all introduce Professor Jeffrey Sachs. I have phenomenal admiration from him since the time I had known him during my days at Harvard University. And of course he doesn't really need any introduction, but he is one of those people who is an economist by training, but can weave different disciplines to make them come together in addressing many of the pressing concerns that we as human beings face in this world. And he has done that repeatedly, and in my 5 years with the United Nations Environment Program, I had the opportunity to welcome him there, during his Millennium Village campaign, and of course his work in Millennium Development Goals, etc., is all very well known to all of you. And so it is a particular thrill to welcome him to this body. And of course, Dr. Jong-Wha Lee is a senior advisor to the President of the Republic of Korea. He's also G20 Sherpa from Korea, and has worked on issues that are in this particular survey, for a long time. And it is a great thrill to have you here, sir, as well. Let me just go through very quickly some of the key highlights. I just want you to know that I'm not an economist by training, though I'm sandwiched between two. So it is not really my forte to talk about this. And what I would like to do is really talk about a couple of key highlights. When you look at this slide, it shows you that how growth had decelerated in Asia Pacific. Now, when you look at the numbers, they're of course down, but when compared with many other countries, they're still quite impressive. In other words, what it means is that despite what is going on to the world economy, Asia Pacific still remains as a strong center for economic activity and economic development. But there are pressures, and the pressures will be particularly hard on export-dependent economies, including this country, Republic of Korea, but does not necessarily imply any drastic reductions in growth, as significant fiscal and monetary policy space to respond is a feature of this country and many of the countries in this region. We wanted to show you specifically what it is about Northeast Asian economies, and this is a slide that tells us the usual numbers about where growth was and is today, and the differences and so on. But the key point that I want to draw your attention to is the Gini index, what you see in the next this slide. This is increasing, and that is a worrisome prospect. And so it is not just about economic growth as we see, but what that means to everybody else. And in fact, I would like to draw your attention to Kande Jungkala's statement this morning about the various types of industrial revolutions and what they had done in uplifting the majority of the people in Africa as well as in Asia. In other words, a lot more needs to be done. This tells us about further gives us further information about the Gini index measure of inequality. This has risen by 15% in the region since 1990s. In other words, we cannot simply be content with economic growth and development, but need to see in terms of how that is translated into bringing about some kind of economic equality and increasing the welfare of the people. This summit is all about global governance and green growth, and what this report does is to really talk a little bit about development-friendly global economic environment and governance. What we need to do is to ensure that we do not return to a pre-crisis global economy that is fueled by high income, fueled by high consumption in high-income economies. So when it is not foreseen, it still is a message that is to be taken seriously by the leadership. We also need a development-friendly global economic and environmental governance. Living with high commodity prices, this is a topic of particular specialty for Dr. Lee, and he's going to talk about that. But when you look at this, you will see one of the key messages is that the country should continue to diversify their economies, even commodity-rich countries, to create productive employment. Again, towards shared prosperity, that is the key message from this report. And we need to have a renewed phase of economic, the Asia Pacific finds itself in a renewed phase of economic insecurity due to external turbulence. Uncertainty is becoming large, and it's becoming a regular feature of the global economy. What should or what can Asia Pacific do to protect themselves from these trends is the major thrust of this report, and the report has a number of very specific recommendations. And without really going into any more of that, I would like to stop here and invite Professor Jeffrey Sachs to offer his comments on the report. Thank you very much.